I mean, come on, you gotta have a little drama. Do not let the cover fool you. I know. So they meet, not so cute. It's not the years you've known somebody, it's the quality of the friendship. Hey everyone, what's up and welcome back to another video. For those who don't know, my name is Angie. I am primarily a romance and suspense reader, but every now and then we will read historical fiction, literary fiction, contemporary fiction, everything but fantasy and sci-fi. Those are not my genres, probably never will be my genres, but you know, there's room for growth one day, maybe. But anyway, we're here to talk about everything that I read in the month of May. May was such a great reading month for me, to the point where I could not really truly pick what book was my ultimate favorite book. But we read 9 books for a total of 3,277 pages, which is pretty awesome. So we read 1 historical fiction, we read 7 romances, and out of the 7 romances, 3 of them were contemporary romance. And I feel like with contemporary romance, that's more romances that have deeper themes, like something happening outside of the romance, whether it's family trauma, parental neglect, childhood abuse, whatever the case may be. Like in that contemporary romance, you're gonna find something more significant outside of just there being a romance. And then we read 1 thriller. So let's get into all the tea. I'll share all my thoughts, spoiler free, and let you know if I recommend these books or if I don't recommend these books. Okay, so the first book that I had finished in May was The American Queen by Vanessa Miller, and it is a historical fiction book. I ended up rating it 4 stars. It's basically about the Happy Land, which I did not realize was a real thing, and that's why it kind of took me so long to read the book, because I was stopping and researching a lot of things. And that's the good thing about reading historical fiction, you learn a lot. And Before We Were Yours by Lisa Wingate, I think that's what it's called, I learned a lot about shanty boats and all those things, the Tennessee Children's Society in those books. So that's the one good thing about reading historical fiction. There's always some kind of truth behind it, and some real life stories that you can gain real knowledge on and real understanding and kind of learn as you're reading, you know, this fantasy book. But anyway, it follows a woman who is trying to get, you know, that it's after the emancipation, so the slaves were free, and so this woman is trying to flee to freedom, to a happy land where her and her people can be accepted and all the things. And obviously over the journey, it is met with hardships, it's met with death, it's met with pain, it's met with things that is challenging them in the Happy Land. So once they get to the Happy Land and all the things, you know, there's trials and tribulations there too. So it kind of follows, you know, that story. If you want to research the Happy Land, you can get kind of a better idea about what it's about. But yeah, a truly good book, realistic, real story. I'm sure there were some things that were changed. I think there were some names that were different, but I really truly enjoyed The American Queen, and I can't wait to read the other book called The Happy Land. I think that's by another author, but yeah, I'm excited to read that. Okay, so the next book I'm super duper excited to talk about, it is King of Envy by Anna Wong. So if you don't know, and I'll link below in the description, I did a whole video on the series of the 4 books that I read. It was King of Wrath, King of Greed, King of Sloth. There was another one. I read all of them. I loved it so much to the point where I ended up doing a video on it. And so I was excited when this came out, and I'm excited that she's doing 2 more books in the series, King of Gluttony and King of Lust. But anyway, King of Envy follows Buck and Ayanna, and Buck is introduced in the other books. I think even in book 1 through book 4, he's introduced as somebody who does not communicate verbally, and we don't know why he communicates verbally. I thought it was more so he was just kind of this tough guy, tough exterior, didn't have much to say, like he's a bad businessman, and you know, just not bad like bad, but just he handled his business. He put in work and he handled his business. But and then it follows Ayanna, who is a supermodel, and Ayanna is in kind of an arranged marriage situation, but Buck actually saw with Buck's best friend. Ciao. Okay, let's start there, with his best friend. So that's where the envy part comes in, because Buck was the one who saw her first. He's always kept an eye on her, made sure that she was good, and now his best friend is marrying her, but Buck has no idea that their marriage is, or their engagement is, a sham. And so he's kind of just envious of, wow, he gets the woman that I truly love. And Ayana, Buck has a very bad appearance, and Ayana is kind of, she sees past his exterior, and behind all of that, she comes to find out, is pain, is suffering, is some things that he experienced that he doesn't share with everybody. And so they kind of formulate a relationship. And you know, it starts out, and you know, Buck is one of those people where he doesn't want Ayana to know that he is in love with her, so he kind of acts like he hates her. So it's giving Grumpy Sunshine in a way, but not necessarily, because he just kind of tries to avoid her as much as possible. And yeah, so that kind of is the premise of that, where they're stuck on truly being together and truly loving one another, because she's in this situation. So I rated that 5 stars. I absolutely loved that book so much. I cannot wait to finish the series. I highly recommend that book. So the next book I ended up reading was Won't Keep You Waiting by, I think the author pronounces the name T. Lin. It is a romance. It just came out January 2025. I did rate it 4 stars. It follows Rio in China, and Rio has a daughter with his ex. I don't know if they were married, but his ex. And the ex is kind of, come to find out, she's kind of going through something, and Rio becomes like the sole primary caregiver for his daughter, because the mom is just she's in a hard place right now. And China is the little girl's sister. I mean, China is the little girl's teacher. So when Rio first sees China teaching, he's like,
oh my gosh, I'm in love with her. Like, she's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen.
And he's trying to constantly get with her, and she's kind of like, no, that's not gonna happen. This is unprofessional. And he just starts wearing her down, starts showing up kind of like at car shops, seeing her and just kind of wooing her and just wearing her down. And so they kind of fall into a romance that's met with, you know, a little you know, trial and a little tribulation, dealing with his ex and, you know, things that she has going on and whatnot. And they their Insta love was so cute. I really enjoyed reading their story. It was it was given urban romance, because Rio was kind of ghetto. He was like very hood, very aggressive, very, you know, like I kind of like that. This book, it really had good banter. So if you love banter, this would be the book. It had good drama, kept your attention, and all the things. One of the things that I loved about this couple is how they stayed supportive of one another through everything. A lot of people probably wouldn't have been as supportive as China was with Rio and his baby mama. So yeah, they held each other down, and I really truly enjoyed their story, and I can't wait to read the second book in the series. I forget what the series is called, but yeah, can't wait to read it. Okay, so the next book that I read, the most memorable book, The World Around Us by Lauren Lacey. I don't even know how to describe this book without sharing details of it, so I think I'm just gonna read. This book was so good to me. It was so heartfelt. It was so, my goodness. So it says, in the small, close-knit town of Greer, Georgia, Tiffany Weathers and Mason Boom are two souls bound by destiny neither of them can explain. From the first shared glance, Mason feels an unshakable connection to Tiffany, a recognition so profound it feels like he's finally found the missing piece of himself. Tiffany, equally captivated, finds herself drawn to the life that Mason seems to offer, a life filled with love, family, and security. But as they navigate the peaks and valleys of adolescence into adulthood, they face unforeseen trials that test the depths of their love and resilience. As they mature, Mason's journey to become an NFL star pulls him into a world of fame and glamour. Tiffany, meanwhile, builds a life for herself as a successful dancer and studio owner, establishing stability for her son Drew and creating the quiet, fulfilling life she's always wanted. Yet, despite their separate paths, fate continues to pull them together, forging a connection that remains unbroken even by time and distance. Years later, Mason returns to Greer with a renewed determination to finally claim the life he's always envisioned, with Tiffany at its center. Okay, I'm going to stop right there because there's so much more. This book is so much more, and I don't really care for the cover of this book because the cover does not do this book justice. Do not look at this cover and just think this is some silly sports romance. This book has so much depth behind it, so much heartache, so much trauma, so much just every emotion that you can feel, you'll feel in this book. You'll go from laughing, you'll go to crying, you'll go to just being happy, you'll go to being sad, you'll feel joy, you'll feel down, you're up and down, and just it was a very emotional book. And the love that Tiffany's sister showed her in protecting her, you know, and it made you think about how the memories that we have in childhood, how certain things in our adulthood life can trigger those memories from coming back. Some things we put on the back burner because they're like back in that subconscious area of our brain, like they're not at the forefront. And so this book was simply amazing. I 1000% recommend you read this book. Do not let the cover fool you. If you want to know more on my feelings towards that book, make sure you friend me on Goodreads because I go into great detail on there that sometimes I forget to share on here. So yeah, there's that. Alright, so y'all know it was May. Your girl Kennedy Ryan was coming out with a book, Can't Get Enough. This is the last book in the Skyland series, and I was so sad to see Soledad, Yasmin, and Hendrix go. Like, they were such the epitome of supportive friends, and they didn't even like grow up together. I forgot that they had just met each other in adulthood doing yoga. So seeing how close they are and how protective they are and how they took care of one another was just, it's not the years you've known somebody, it's the quality of the friendship. You can know somebody for a year and really just rock with them and that be your person, as in your best friend. But anyway, Can't Get Enough follows Hendrix, which is, she's like, gives rich auntie vibes. She doesn't want any children. That's just not the life that she wants. And so she's kind of just this big boss, has her own money, has her own things. And so she goes to a party, and she with her business partner and her client, and she meets her business partner's boyfriend, Maverick. Only there's a little secret there that nobody really knows about, and they won't find out for like maybe a month or two later. But Maverick ends up having an instant connection with Hendrix. He sees her dancing, being the life of the party, drawing people in, just having a good time. And so they have an initial conversation about investments and limiting partners and what they have going on in business and stuff, and he kind of just falls for her. So over the time, she finds out what's going on with him and her business partner, and he is pursuing Hendrix real bad. Like, he knows he wants his girl.
I'm like, I'm leaving here with something.
And Hendrix is like, you know, I think this is kind of inappropriate because she's my business partner and I don't know how she will take it. And so obviously there's some drama that unfolds with that. I mean, come on, you gotta have a little drama. But this had like deeper themes in it, with, you know, Hendrix having a sick parent. I think she had, I forget what she had. It was Alzheimer's or dementia, something. She was sick. She wasn't doing well. And so Hendrix had a lot on her plate. And Maverick was very clear with her from the beginning. And I said this in the video that I love, being my age, I love when characters in books, they communicate to the fullest extent. Like, they have the deeper conversation and let the person know what they want. And then if you know that person is apprehensive, they kind of let them come to terms with it on their own instead of pressing the issue. So yeah, Can't Get Enough. Highly recommend. 5 stars for me. Great way to end the series. So the next book that I read was Behind the Forecast by E.B. Daniels, and this was kind of like a quick little romance. It was only 178 pages. It follows Eden and Dawson, and they were just cute. This was not a book that was like I would just recommend, but if you wanted to read something cute and something fluffy in between heavy reads, this would be a good book to read because it was just cute. Eden is kind of in a situation where she's in between jobs, and she has a degree. She's very well educated and all the things, but she's just in between. Everybody goes through something, regardless of if you're on top of the world. We're all going through something out here. Nobody has this perfect life, no matter what they portray on social media or whatever the case may be. We're all going through something. And so that was Eden. And Dawson, he is going through something because he has I forget if his mother had passed or if she was sick or something. Whatever the case may be, they're still grieving, and his dad is kind of going through it, and so he's kind of just this grumpy person, and she's just rainbows and sunshine, and so they meet, not so cute, and over the course of after the meeting, they just keep meeting at random spots. She ends up being a social media creator for the dad's comic shop, which is the family business, because he's like, either the family is like millionaires or billionaires or something like that. So yeah, they just fate kind of just keeps bringing them together. And I feel like there were a lot of things that could have been explored on a deeper level in this book, and I think that's why it was just a 3-star read for me, because certain things were opened up and then they just never closed. It just opened up and it left you wanting more. And I guess that's a good thing, because if you open it up and I'm like, well, I don't even care, that could be a bad thing. But I wanted a little bit more from the book, from the story. So yeah, that's probably why I wouldn't really necessarily recommend it. Like I said, it's just cute, fluffy for in between heavy reads. So then we read The Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings. This is a new author for me, so kudos to me for keeping this up with reading new authors this year each month. Jessa Hastings, she kind of her writing style kind of reminds me of Kennedy Ryan, where they kind of just draw you in. You can't put it down. You don't want to put it down. I went into this blind because I kept seeing The Conditions of Will on Instagram and YouTube, and I'm like, what is this book about? Like, I don't really particularly care for the cover. It's just a lot going on in the cover, but everybody keeps talking about this book, and boy am I glad that I picked it up. I ended up rating it 5 stars. It follows Georgia, and Georgia is told strictly from her perspective. And you guys know I love dual POV, but certain books, it just needs to stay with that one character, and this was one of those books where you didn't need anybody else's opinion, because it was solely about Georgia and what Georgia is experiencing. So her and her brother Sam, they're kind of the black sheep of the family, because Georgia, she was sent away for pretty much what was a misunderstanding. Her parents just kind of wrote her off. Something traumatic happened and she was sent off to a boarding school. And Sam, he is gay, so they're like Catholic or something like that, very big in the church. Their behavior was unacceptable, so they were kind of shunned. Well, there ends up being a death, and Sam and Georgia have to come back. Now Sam is an alcoholic, so Sam shows up with his sponsor. Sam is the romance mailman character. The brother's name, shoot, I forget the brother's name. Oliver. I'm sorry. So Oliver and Georgia, their brother and sister, and they were kind of shunned because Oliver is gay. So Oliver is also an alcoholic now, and he shows up at the house with Sam, who is his sponsor. Sorry about that, y'all. I was getting excited to talk about Sam, clearly.
Oh my God, I love him.
But Sam ends up seeing Georgia. Georgia ends up seeing Sam, and they have just this instant attraction towards one another. So obviously feelings form, and Oliver is not liking it because Oliver has a crush on Sam. But Sam is straight. There's nothing gay about him. He's not bi. He's not interested in no man. Which I kind of got frustrated with Oliver throughout the story, because I'm like, if you know he's not gay, you're never going to have him. Like, he likes your, come on now, let's move on from this. But anyway, this book was full of twists and turns and stuff, because you had that situation going on. You had the dynamics between the other two siblings, I forget their names, Marianne and Tennyson. That's who they were. And you had this broken family that's coming together that ends up finding out a major secret that kind of brings them together in a way. It touches on narcissism, it touches on neglectful parenting, it just touches on, you know, just, it was so good. It was better than I could have ever imagined it to be, and I highly recommend this book. So the next book that I read was from another new author, What I Should Have Said by Max Monroe. I literally read this book within 24 hours. It was like 352 pages. And when I tell you guys, this book, another contemporary romance that pulls at your heart, makes you just feel... I read a lot of books this month where the parents were kind of either sick or they were just delusional narcissists. I don't know what it was, but I was picking them this month, I guess. But anyway, What I Should Have Said is in a series, the Red Bird series by Max Monroe, which is kind of like Christina Lauren. They are a duo, so it's not just one author. They are a duo writing this together, and boy, can they write. They made me literally, I literally could not put this book down. It was everywhere with me every second. Cooking, I had it in my hand. Laying down, I had it in my hand. In the bathroom, I had it in my hand. I was in there like swimwear, okay? So it follows Nora and what was the male main character's name? Bennett. And Nora is... she's kind of a rich girl. Her mom is very much one of those moms that's all about money, appearance, and having a partner that is going to take care of you and you just kind of reap the benefits. But Nora's about to get married, and she ends up getting this letter and realizes, I am not finna marry this man. Like, there's no way I'm marrying him. So she runs off to her hometown, which her mom left, to her sister Josie, who she's kind of estranged from because Josie peeps the mom. Now, you know, you got people that will, don't matter if they're parents, if they're toxic, they're going to separate themselves. They're going to have boundaries. Well, that was Josie. So Josie she shows up to Josie's house, and Josie's kind of like apprehensive, like, you know, we don't really talk like that no more, but she ends up letting her in because she loves her sister. And so Nora is trying to rebuild her life, and she ends up in a situation with Bennett. Bennett kind of picks her up in town. It kind of reminds me of Heart of Dixie when George picked up Dr. Hart or whatever on the side of the road. It kind of gave that feel. And so yeah, so it's more, this book is more than a Grumpy Sunshine. I know it's described as the enemies to lovers, Grumpy Sunshine, and it is all that. And it was just so much more to me than the tropes. Nora and Josie, they were dealing with a lot. They were dealing with secrets that kind of just was unbelievable. Nora was getting out of a bad relationship. And then you had Bennett, the mailman character, which is just his grumpiness. And sometimes I hate Grumpy Sunshine, but his grumpiness was just so, oh my gosh, it was so heartbreaking. He is the epitome of handling business.
Oh my God, I love him.
And that's all I'm going to leave it at. Highly recommend you go check it out. And the last book that I read was My Husband's Fiance by Wendy Owens. So this was my family's book club of the month, and it basically follows a woman who is in jail for the death of her husband's mistress. Okay, yeah, the husband was cheating on her and she allegedly killed the woman. And so it's following that story, and the husband's new fiance shows up basically trying to figure stuff out. And yeah, it's a story. It's an interesting read, but it was one of those books where you kind of like the ending was just very abrupt. It just happened, and I'm like, wait a minute, I thought I was going to get a little bit more thrill. It's identified as a thriller, but I wasn't really thrilled. It was just interesting to read the process of it. Like my sister said, I got what she was saying when I finished it. So yeah, I did end up rating that one 3 stars. So take it for what you will. But anyway, those are all the books that I read for May. It was a really good reading month. I enjoyed myself. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. book, or not series, but I did a whole book review. Why can't I talk today? So it follows Rio in China. My gosh, go away. I'm sorry, y'all. So the next book I ended up reading was, for those who don't know, my name is Angie. I am primarily book journal, ask me 321. I don't like that either. So the next book I ended up reading was Behind the Forecast by E.B. Daniels, which follows a female. So the next book I read was Behind the Forecast, which follows